Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Herney. My teammate is Hope Pearl. We are both computer engineers, and we are Team eMoney. Our project this semester has been working on a cooperative backlog refinement tool for an agile development. Our application would help a agile team determine a product's features readiness to be worked on. It would also log comments and notes during refinement sessions for future review. The agile development process begins with the product idea. This product idea generates features which are stored in the product backlog. Periodically, the team will review this backlog and choose PBIs, or product backlog items, to include in the upcoming sprint. During the sprint, they will work to accomplish these goals. At the end of the sprint, they will get together, they will review their progress, and start the process over again. A critical aspect of this process is the definition of ready. Definition of ready is a set of criteria used to compare to the PBIs to determine their readiness for work. A well-composed definition is important because it allows the team to foresee any dependencies to the PBI that might forestall them working on the actual task. Our software should be able to walk the team through creating this definition of ready, so no important aspect that would be critical to the PBI is overlooked. Our software should also walk the team through comparing the definition of ready to the PBI, recording notes so that the team can look over what they've done in the past. I'll now hand everything over to Hope, who will talk about our best anticipated outcome.
Alrighty, so our best anticipated outcome for this project is actually a fully functional web application that will allow a user to sign in using their credentials using Okta Verify and be able to see their teams pulled in from Jira. For each of those teams, since you may have different needs for each one, you want to be able to configure your definition of ready, basically decide what it means to be ready. And then once you have your definition of ready configured, you want to be able to run a refinement session, ask yourself those questions. So we'll start with configuration. Configuring your definition of ready, as I said before, is about making sure that you're ready. It's asking yourself and your team questions like, has the test plan for this been written? Or can this item be broken down to be smaller? We want to be able to create criterion to support this definition of ready with things like yes, no voting, multiple choice selection, and text input collaboratively so that you can ask your team in real time and store that information. Once you've decided basically how you want to have your data and your definition of ready stored, then you're able to start the most important part of Are You Ready, which is configuration. Configuration is when you pull in items from Jira and you compare them directly against your definition of ready. This is when you ask yourself and your team, has this test plan been written? Can one of these features be broken down into stories instead so that it can be more easily worked on and distributed to be done this sprint rather than next? So once you have those questions answered, you want to be able to save that information back to Jira so that you can see it when you're looking at your cards, for example, throughout your sprint without having to reopen the software. So all of these items will be stored on the actual Jira cards pushed back outwards, with your definition of ready being stored in an internal database. So now we'll talk about how far we've gotten towards our best anticipated outcome this semester. Patrick and I chose to split our work between the front and the back ends based off of our interests and our skill sets, as I'm also a computer scientist and Patrick focuses more on networking. So I work on the front end mostly, which is JavaScript and React and Redux framework. So it's a more front-end framework, more user experience focused, while Patrick has been focusing on the API application, which is more back-end, integrating with the database and with Jira in mostly C#. This has probably been the most difficult part of our project just because integrating between front and back end in different languages and different structures is a big process that you don't really encounter in schoolwork, so we have very little experience doing so. So for the front end work, because it's user experience focused, it's broken up into pages. Here you can see the page that the most work has gone into so far, our list of teams, what you see right when you log in with Okta Verify. It renders a single team and then renders a list of teams as separate components so that you can modulate how you present this information to your team. And then the framework here allows for you to asynchronously get your list of teams and synchronously clear it. These top buttons won't be here in the final product because it'll be linked directly to your user ID in Jira, so it'll retrieve this information for you without your input. But It's here to show the framework and the structure that went into developing the software so far, because a lot of work went in here that will support future iterative development. Once you have your list of teams, you can choose to configure one, say Magnum here, which brings us to the configuration screen. This is a demo that you can actually come see at our table after this, a full walkthrough demo of what we're expecting you to be able to see. But you can add items to your definition of ready, select their type, and reorder the criteria. A lot of this work has already been done, but because of that difficulty I mentioned of connecting the front and back end, it doesn't really render correctly yet, so we mostly have just this regular walkthrough demo. The front end is powered completely by the back end, so I'll hand it back off to Patrick now to talk about his back end work.
Thank you. This diagram shows the flow of data through our application. When a user logs into the application, a list of teams will be retrieved from Jira and displayed on the page. The user can then pick from this list of teams to either configure or to refine. In the configuration page, the team will work to define a definition of ready, which will then be stored to a local database. When the team moves on to the refinement page, the definition of ready will be retrieved from the local database, and the team can use it to compare against their PBIs. When a PBI has been reviewed, the session comments and information will be saved back to Jira. A critical aspect of this has been creating a definition of ready data model. It had to be robust and flexible enough to support multiple different types of data. As you can see here, we have a simple text field or a multiple choice, multiple select data field. To date, we currently have a nearly fully functional configuration page. As Hope said, the only thing we have left to do is connect it to a local database. Our remaining challenges include creating a refinement session that would be similar in complexity to the configuration page, but would have an interface to Jira. We will also have to create note tracking so that the team can look back and review previously reviewed PBIs. And finally, create a collaboration functionality so that the team can work on the PBIs together versus a single user inputting all of the data into the application. Finally, we would like to thank everyone who's helped us in this project. Thank you.